Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Smith. Senator Lummis of Wyoming is recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, so much. I want to talk about what I see as some of the really good work that we've done in this committee and highlight some of the legislation we might want to move forward. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. To catch up and meet the needs of Wyoming, we've got to build between 20 and 38,000 housing units this decade. We have the smallest population in the nation, so that gives you a sense of how significant our needs are. And in some ways, they pale in comparison to some of my colleagues here on the dais. It's a daunting task, and the Cowboy State is up to it. I'm sure your states are too, but we can improve the tools that we help make available to them. Senator Tina Smith likes to say that without housing, nothing else in your life works, and you're right about that. I'd like to add that without housing, nothing in your community works either. Not your neighborhoods, not your workforce, not your business, and not your economic growth. So I've been really pleased to work with you, Senator Smith, and my other colleagues on this committee on some of the challenges that we have with regard to housing. Solving the housing shortfall is going to take committed bipartisan work, and it's a great bipartisan subject. So first, we need to streamline the bureaucracy and take a thorough look at what's been working and what hasn't. The federal government threw a lot of money at housing needs and homelessness during COVID. The impact has been higher housing costs and more families competing for a shrinking supply of affordable homes. So spending money has not fixed our problem. And further, when those houses at their inflated value are reappraised for tax purposes, everybody's property taxes go up. So it's sort of a vicious cycle. I want to voice my support for Ranking Member Scott's Road to Housing Act that offers common sense reforms to existing housing programs. I also appreciate the very thoughtful reforms that Senator Rounds and Senator Smith have proposed in the Rural Housing Service Reform Act. I think together these pieces of legislation update programs that are in desperate need of reworking. I hope this committee moves forward on marking up these two important pieces of legislation. Thank you, Senator Scott, Senator Smith, Senator Rounds. Second, we need to expand the housing supply by eliminating barriers to construction and preserve the housing units we do have. Regulation blocks the construction of new housing by making it more expensive than it needs to be. Regulation adds $94,000 to the cost of a new home and accounts for a whopping 40% of apartment development costs. Now, I know a lot of these are assessed at the local level and not at the federal level, but we contribute to those additional costs as well. We need to find room for housing innovations such as modular housing, which delivers a high-quality product at a lower cost to buyers everywhere, especially in states like mine. We also need to preserve the housing that we do have. Rural housing tends to be older and in need of repair, but small loan sizes and an appraisal gap means it's very challenging for rural homeowners to finance the repairs they need. That's why I'm working with Senator Fetterman on the Whole Homes Repair Act to pilot an approach that would shift existing funds to a centralized source of grants for low-income families. And it's kind of fun to get to work with Senator Fetterman for the first time. Finally, interest rates. Irresponsible government spending spurred inflation, and home buyers and developers are paying for it in the form of higher interest rates. We think of the impact on mortgages, but high interest rates affect every step of the development process, from installing sewer, curb, gutter, water, streets, and other infrastructure, land acquisition costs, construction loans, you name it. The Federal Home Loan Bank system provides crucial liquidity to our financial system. They're also a source of creative ways to support housing and homeowners, and I'd like to work with the system to understand how we can grow the system's impact on the housing shortfall. After all, the middle of their name is Home Loan Bank System. Since 2010, housing development has lagged household formation by 5 million units. That's 5 million additional families that are competing for limited aging housing. It's taken decades to get here. We're not going to solve this in a single hearing, but we can make progress, and we are making progress. I think we've identified some really good ways to help move this issue forward. So I look forward to working with my colleagues on the committee to move forward with legislation on these issues. I think it's a real bright spot in the portfolio of bipartisan work that's happening in Congress, and thank you for letting me highlight it, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member. I yield back.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Thank you for that. Senator Reed of Rhode Island.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I, too,